So first, happy holidays. It has been a while since I posted, and that is mostly because I'm very focused on my fictional story, Monsters, the one that I dedicated to mom and is inspired by my mother. I don't know how many of you know of a site called Wattpad, Wattpad, but it is a place where authors post their books. What I've been doing is posting Monsters as a book, chapter by chapter, over there. And I must tell you that one of my subscribers on this channel inspired me to do this. So to this person, well, thank you so very much. Anyway, I will leave a link to this story in the description, and I truly, truly hope you take a moment to at least check out the first chapter. It is the most personal story that I've ever written, and while it is scary to literally bare your soul to the world, it has also been a very therapeutic experience for me. Anyway, let's get into the subject of today's video. So, when we experience astral projection, are we experiencing the afterlife? If so, what is the afterlife like? What should we expect? First, the answer to the question, at least in my opinion, is no. I don't think it is exactly what it's like when we die on the astral plane. What I do believe is that the astral plane could be a kind of bridge or midpoint between our 3D world and the place our spirits go when we leave this earth. On some level, I believe we might set up appointments to meet our loved ones that passed. So I guess thinking in the sense of, I don't know, like a lunch date or something like that, but on a whole nother scale, right? So I don't think it's always a conscious thing when we set up these appointments to meet our loved ones that have passed. Perhaps our more expanded selves speak to the loved one and set the time and the place. And it's interesting, I wanted to very quickly, and I don't know if I've shared this story on here. There was a moment, and I by the way, guys, I don't always share every single thing that happens to me when I astral travel or if I have an experience. And it's simply because some of the stuff is very personal, and so I don't get into that. This was kind of one of those things. What I recall, and I may have actually shared this in one of my videos, but what happened was I found myself in the middle space, and I could actually hear myself having a conversation with my mother. Now, I could hear myself in the sense of it would be like listening to your own voice having a conversation, but the conversation, that voice is independent of you, right? So the voice sounds like you, but it you're not talking, you're not thinking. This voice is its own independent self, and it's having a conversation. And I found it, having a conversation with my mom. And what I remember was my mother asking how I was doing. and she said my name. She's like, how is, this person doing? And basically, how's my son doing? And, that's kind of what I recall. But it was almost like I was eavesdropping or kind of listening in a place that, I probably wouldn't normally have done. Obviously, not in my conscious time, being awake and stuff, I wouldn't have been able to hear this. And it's almost like there's a curtain drawn, right, between you and your more expanded self at times. And your more expanded self is reaching out, talking to different beings, talking to people that have passed on, that kind of thing. I must tell you, I felt a bit jealous when this happened. I don't know, it was weird. I was like jealous of myself because I was like, well, how dare my more expanded self talk to my mother without telling me that they were going to talk to her. Anyways, the thing is, it was me, right? It was me. So there's no reason to be jealous. So going back to the whole astral plane and it being sort of a bridge or a midpoint, at some point we may travel to the astral plane. And then we spend a few precious moments with that loved one. And then that loved one moves on to a place beyond the astral plane. It's interesting. I can remember asking my mom about the afterlife when I connected with her spirit once. And I think I also did talk about this once in one of my videos. Now, at first, I asked her, and I kind of said, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, and she was like, no, I definitely can talk about it. But when she started explaining, I can't say that I comprehended exactly what she was saying. I mean, she was speaking English and everything, and I was understanding her words, but I wasn't able to put it together. It was a really strange thing. I was not able to comprehend much, if anything. The part that I did get was that when we pass on, that we're separated into tribes or something like that. But that was about it. Something I've always said on this channel is that every deep question we've always thought about, like what exactly happens after we die, or what is our purpose in this world, it can be answered. There's an answer to it. But there is no guarantee that we will always be able to understand the answers, at least in regards to our 3D mind. I have developed a few theories, though, and theories regarding life after death. And these theories are mostly based on my experience. The first part of this, and I'm going to kind of talk about this as if, I am the spirit that is actually moving on, not talking about a loved one as a spirit moving on, but that I am that spirit itself that is preparing to move on. So the first theory is that there is a transition when the spirit first leaves. Think of it like an orientation when you first begin a job or start school. This orientation is something that assists you or myself with the transition. And, by the way, guys, this is a huge transition that we're getting ready to go into, probably the biggest one ever. So, yeah, it would make sense that there is some kind of orientation or some period for this transition. After this, it is up to you to decide what you're going to do next. You have all the information and the things you can do. One of the things that I think many people do is, they want to say their last goodbye to their loved ones before crossing over. This, I believe, could present a challenge, a very difficult challenge, especially for loved ones who may be atheists. They may not believe in spirituality at all. They may just think it's whatever. Not only have they never even attempted astral projection, but they don't believe any of this stuff is real. Or they don't necessarily consciously astral project. Now, when I say consciously astral project, there are those that believe that AP happens every night when we sleep, regardless of whether we remember it or not. So that's why I'm saying conscious AP experiences. And by the way, I don't really have a comment on that because, I'm always honest on this channel. I don't know if we experience AP every time, whether we remember it or not, because if I have experienced it that way, I don't remember. Anyway, I suspect that entering your loved one's dreams is the easiest way, if you're getting ready to move on. It's the easiest way to say goodbye. And I think this is why so many people report after their loved one has passed on. This is why so many people report having a dream, as a very pleasant dream. And the person tells them, I'm okay, everything's okay. I'm much better now in this place. And they tell them, that they love them and to take care of themselves and all those kinds of things. Now, the person may just write it off and just say, oh, this was just a dream. But I think it does bring comfort to people. So let's say now that you are actually able to do APs, right, through astral project. Now it becomes a thing of, like I said, setting up an appointment on another level, on your more expanded self level. And, you're going to go and you're going to meet on the astral plane at some point, right? And then on the astral plane, in that midpoint, on that bridge, you say goodbye to the person, right? It's like, I love you, whatever, goodbye. And then that's it. You move on. Now, after this, you transition to another sphere of existence. By the way, I'm not really getting too into the spirits that hang around, the old haunted house thing and all that stuff. There are spirits that don't end up moving on. And again, that is, I believe, their choice. They want to hang out. But so getting back into the people, the spirits that move on into that next step, that next place, is that next place like Earth or what we consider to be heaven? Honestly, I don't know. What I do believe that is that it is a place that is forged or made of love, and it runs through everything over there. At that point, you can make a decision once you're on the other side. You could reincarnate to have more experiences here on this earth, or even other places, other realities, other worlds. Or you can stay on the other side forever, whatever that means. I don't think things like forever or time make a lot of sense over there, as it doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist in the way that we understand it. You could also choose to come back in spirit form to do some kind of job. It's funny to me when I was thinking about this. I'm like, wow, you've worked all your life. Haven't you had enough of working? Why would you actually want to come back and do more work? But I mean, I think there are people that really would love to do that. I can remember connecting with the spirit of my grandmother and learning that she helped souls to cross over. By the way, perfect job for grandma if you knew her. So ultimately, it is all up to you. And I think that this particular prospect, it being all up to you, is scary to people, because saying that we have any kind of control over there means that we also carry some kind of responsibility, and responsibility can be a scary thing. Anyway, that's what I believe, and it is important, as always, to emphasize that it is simply a belief, and I could be completely off, completely wrong. Mom always taught me to remember that this is all my opinion. Even though I can do what I do, it is still my opinion, because I am telling you from my perspective. Other people will have different perspectives. So, lastly, I would say this. Anybody who tells you that they know exactly what happens after you die And that same person says, hey, for money, I can teach you this and this and that and that, and I can show you everything that happens and all that. I would say run. Run in the opposite direction because, like I said, most times those people haven't died either. There's people that have near-death experiences. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking in general. I don't know that any of us can really understand what happens after we die until we disconnect from these bodies forever. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.